the prophet has spoken. On the top right, we have the red Terran player representing Alpha X. He is Future.
And spawning over in the bottom left-hand side, representing the Shopify Rebellion, it is Scarlett. Alrighty. Actually, you know, I haven't seen proxy Rexes in TVZ in quite some time. Like, I remember when it used to be at least once a series. But honestly, for the last few months, I've very rarely seen it. I don't know if it's because most of the maps have, like, ramps going into the natural, which definitely can be quite a deterrent. But it also feels like a lot of Terrans have taken a page out of Clem's book, where it's like, hey man, I just do my very nice standard opening, I scout you, I check what's up. You have Terrans over in the Korean scene that are doing very good against Zerg recently, like even whipping out some crazy builds such as Gumiho. But yeah, and also we have a very, very spicy GSL finals coming up. Always excited to see our little wonder boy.
Hey, you say that name, and I'm already in. I'm excited. I'd like more people to start doing those crazy builds, Benjamin, because you know, I've seen enough Zerg World Champions. We need someone to rise up and unseat them from their throne of power. And you're not going to do it by spamming Marines and trading your army for creep tumors. It's not going to work. Follow the morals of Gumiho. He is our new he's our new Terran savior. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say. Hashtag legalize battlecruisers as that Reaper makes its way across the map.
Man, I just noticed as well, all these Zergs with their super dark rooms, man.
Yeah, everything I've ever read about ergonomics suggests that that's just generally bad for your eyesight, but I don't really feel like nitpicking or getting weird about it. But it's certainly an interesting choice, to say the least.
Yeah, it was like Lambo also had like a ridiculously dark room. I swear, sometimes I can't even see Lambo, despite his screen being bright, you know? Anyhow, this Reaper already getting a few Ling kills, which isn't the end of the world for Scarlett at all, but it's just a sign that, hey, Future seems on point with the early game micro, and Scarlett letting things slip ever so slightly, but that isn't the be all and end all. TVZ is very much a marathon, not a sprint.
Yes, and that's one of the coolest things about it, is it at the highest level, it's very difficult to kill the other player early on. There's not a lot of gotcha builds that you can do outside of that proxy Marine strategy, but even that is not something that is, as you've already pointed out, happening as often. So
hey Nate,
what's up?
Third gas is done for Future.
You know what? He said it. Didn't he say, wasn't he trolling a little bit in the lobby about how he wanted to build battlecruisers because I told him to do that in the TVP? Well, they're actually good in this matchup. They're busted in this matchup. So do it. Hit the fusion core. The Vikings on the way. Do it.
I think it's going to be, I think it is. Yeah, it is. The third gas absolutely leads to this kind of stuff. Scarlett should be able to scout this. Oh, in fact, all right. That Overlord is right in the way of where it could go and scout all of this, basically. The third gas and the fusion. Oh, second starport. Yeah. Having that third gas absolutely indicates you're going for something extra cheeky. Like, you can actually make the BC off 2 gases alone, and it's totally fine. It can still be a fairly... Look at this. It's going for a Liberator. I wonder if that's like a sneaky, cheeky Liberator. Like, it doesn't even intend on finishing it.
Yeah, I feel like this is, if you see something that would suggest you are going to get hit with like a Roach all-in, because that's really what kills this. Is it's just so much resources that you have to save up to get the 2 battle cruisers, which is a very doable thing. But you're not building much else in order to afford that, and you need to have like that 12 supply available, etc. So if you don't see the Roaches, then you could cancel it. I mean, it's not like a Liberator harassed is going to be like bad, but it's not the hardest thing for Scarlett to deal with if she has units in position. So worst case scenario, it's an insurance policy. It maybe delays things a tiny smidge, but he is getting the 4th gas now, mining as well. So we'll be able to afford to get that double battle cruiser relatively soon. The minerals will catch up. 600 gas is the target to Muslim. This is like my favorite build. I love to do it. I love to see it. And if you don't go to Aspire at a reasonable pace, it's pretty easy to just straight up die to this. It's incredibly powerful. I'd say borderline busted, and I think I might be the only person who can say that without getting crap for it. It's amazing.
So Scarlett didn't actually get to see the fusion core, and that's a really big deal. Seeing this now, like she made a spine crawler. She's making queens, and I mean, queens are never a bad thing to make. That Liberator, by the way, such an awkward position to have it. I think she was misreading a lot of this because she put down a Baneling there. She made like a few extra lings and stuff. Now that's going to be good against the ground units, but nothing's really screamed to me that she thinks a BC's coming, especially when there's only one Spore Crawler down. Spore Crawlers obviously help tank and keep the drones alive a little bit better, but now she's getting the Overseer, but this is quite a late scout from her.
Yeah, every part of this map also helps too. There's so many spots to hide the BCs well out of the range of the queens. But since there is no Spire, since it hasn't started, you're left with very little options as a Zerg. Like sometimes you'll see like a really big bust to try and just unsettle it because you know that there's not a lot back home to deal with it, but that's what the Hellions are doing. And because the Spire hasn't started, the teleport cooldown is the same. I don't know about going directly into this middle position, but he wants to utilize the Hellbats with this. You can kind of drag around where the queens are and go up into the main base down the line, but he's looking to deal the game, like win the game with just all of it up front. So that is one way to do it. There are a lot of queens and banelings though, so I kind of like taking this up towards the main or the natural because you have a really easy segue out into that airspace.
There's some nice Baneling detonations there, getting into the juicy innards there. That Liberator at the back, kind of dealing with some Overlords if it can. But this will get a lot stronger before it gets weaker. Like, there's going to be third and fourth BC showing up. We do have Yamato on the way. Quite a bit to go. But so far, I'm totally on board with you, or on board with you, mate. Like, blinking over there into the front, I feel that
I think that's the worst spot. I actually think that's the worst spot he could have teleported. I think
behind the natural / main is totally fine.
Because if you go into the main, there's the chance, like if you're going to just teleport in, and you're assuming that if they already have a Spire done, you're going to lose the battle cruisers. So if you're going to teleport in, go for where the workers are going to be, but he's kind of just fighting over space right now, and this is the ideal scenario for Scarlett because she's got a bunch of queens and this is exactly where she wants them to be. So Future can kill, maybe cancel the hatchery, so it delays the fourth base, but battle cruisers, I feel you can get a lot more mileage out of them at this phase. But either way, he's still going to have a ton of battle cruisers and Yamato soon, but just hasn't really generated much value for them yet. You cancel a hatch as 225 minerals, but the cost to repair that BC from 1 health to full is, that's actually not that far off. 100 minerals, 75 gas. It's a difficult spot to be in, I'd say. Yeah,
I'm very worried for Future here. I feel that all of this wasn't like he needed more. He needed a lot more.
Yeah.
Like he's got the BC still alive, but what's really been done? You kind of denied the fourth base a couple of times. Scarlett's double expanding now. Yeah. She's on 90 drones. She is getting out like 9 corruptors all at once as well. And they're scary, man. Like obviously Yamato deals with them pretty nicely, but they are the ultimate counter to the BCs. Like they do extra damage to the massive. They have big armor as well against the anti-air attack.
You really don't want to fight head to head with battle cruisers versus corruptors. If the Zerg gets a decent amount of them out, then you're just stuck. And obviously, if his approach with this is to keep fighting at the absolute front and not try to play around the edge, not try to get those little chip shots on what's exposed, then the queens will march right up to this with their corruptors, and he's going to be forced to retreat very quickly. So you can end up spending more money repairing than damage that you deal very quickly if you're playing right up where all the transfuses are going to be. And at the very least, if he gets like 40 models on the corruptors, that is great. Going to teleport the one that's taking the damage out first. Love to see that, but not really getting, I think, what he was needing to at the start of this. But at the same time, Scarlett is also just chilling at her base, but she feels comfortable to just keep expanding. Infestors are going to be great. Fungal growth will prevent you from being able to teleport away unless you already are channeling for it. And with Burrow, I think we'll probably see, as this continues, maybe even a little neural parasite action.
Yeah, I like the fact that Future's got this little Rambo squad on the map. It's very good at just clearing up a bit of creep, and he's utilizing it quite well, especially with this Raven in the mix. I don't know when he bothered to get that, but yeah, it's nice for grabbing himself a little bit of map control here. And he's kept all the BCs alive, which is definitely something. And kind of silencing this creep spread is also very pleasant, and he's already getting ready to help out with the BCs by getting the 4s, great anti-air, and he is really buckling down on this mecha army comp here.
Yeah, so the follow-up for this, because like as the Zerg gets enough economy, you're never going to want to fight all the Corruptors and Infestors and Queens with just the BCs, because even the Yamada won't be enough. But the Cyclone, Hellion, Raven, this is nice. Like we've been talking about clearing out the creep, but being able to do this poking is great. The damage of the Cyclones, if the Corruptors run by them, is huge. You just want to be, every time the battle cruisers are off cooldown, send them around the outside and then bring everything else, bring those Hellions, bring those Cyclones to the opposite corner and just make it as difficult as possible for the Zerg. But otherwise, yeah, those battle cruisers just have not really done a whole lot. And Scarlett, I would be shocked if she's never played against this before. So let's see where this goes. I think you just got to chill. If you're Zerg, you just chill, macro up, get your energy on your Infestors, and wait for the Terran to try and make that attack and just go in with everything.
Yeah, I think you're a battle cruiser enthusiast, and I've also made my fair share of battle cruisers. The thing that's hurting me a little bit with Futures players, it feels like he's using the battle cruisers as if they need to be in line of sight somehow with his main base.
Yeah.
And just being on the map. I always utilize them to really utilize the fact that you can blink from anywhere. Like going in to that main base from the backside is the best, like one of the best things you can possibly do out of it. And just using the fact that the distance that you travel with that teleport, it's almost like a resource. So making it bigger, making it longer, even better for you. But now Scarlett survived the very scary stage, and now she's getting into her comfort zone, I feel.
Yeah, this army is still going to be scary to some degree. You have a lot of tanks, and the Corruptors don't have, we don't have Broodlords on the table, so they will be able to push up, and that can help zone away the Infestors. The big things, make sure you don't get caught off guard by the Infestors. The Neuroparasite is available, so the Raven with the detection is a huge factor here. But the Corruptors are always going to come over and just start to push the BCs away. They're going to die at the start of the fight. They don't have the cooldown available to teleport out. So
a lot of tanks.
It turns into a sort of regular mech army, and you can see the weakness here. Scarlett was a little over leveraged against just the battle cruisers themselves. Those Infestors can turn it around with a burrow play. But Future, if you're going to do this push and you have no Ravens, just make sure you're not dropping mules. You want to have scan on your army, or at least make sure you're following the Infestors. And he does know where all of the Infestors are.
Yeah, but those are some big Thora takeovers, but nice focus fire. Those two Thors single-handedly taking out so much of Future's army, and even the single Cyclone here as well. Did Future just shoot his own Thor there? I think he might have done just to take it out, but that also feels really bad.
Yeah, well, can you imagine that? Like, you have to assume that the Thor is probably somewhat aware of what's happening, even if he's being mind controlled, and that's just horrible to Muslim. Some terrible acts being committed in this match, but it all starts with there was no momentum build up for Future with the opening. Battle cruisers went in, like you said. He kind of just used them like they were regular harass units, but the attack while moving is the best part. You want to drag them over the mineral lines. You want the Queens chasing you all over, and then you teleport out or you go to that air pocket. But Scarlett didn't take any damage at the start of this game. She's got a ton of economy, and the mech follow-up from Future is good. I think Thor, Hellion, Raven is also incredible and very hard to deal with. If the Terran can get up to that like 10 Thor count, it just gets absolutely ridiculous. But the units just aren't there anymore, and now it's just the Thors. They don't have the tanks to zone away anything. They don't have Liberator support, and they're going to be Neuroparasite, or they're going to blow each other up, and Future is probably going to die.
Yep, he certainly is, and this is kind of the weakness of this army. He just had nothing to counter the Infestors, and you kind of need either Liberators or lots of tanks, but he had neither, and Scarlett just kind of came with a pretty bruiser army against it in Future. Yeah, it felt like overall he played a good game, but you have to get those BCs doing more than they had. But as you can see that they are really strong when allowed to unleash.
I baited him. I talked about him too much. I talked about the BCs too much, and he came in chat and said he wanted to build BCs, and now he does it. And I don't know how often he does it, but definitely a tough spot. If he had like a bunch of Ravens, because that's the other side of having two Tech Lab starports, you can interference matrix the Infestors and prevent them from knurling you, but there was never enough to do that, and the army's just gonna get swallowed in the middle of the map. GG Scarlett takes game number one.
Did you see the other result in the group, by the way?
No, what happened?
Uko 2-1 Vindicta.
Nice. Are they making it out?
I mean, I have no idea.
They're making it out of the group.
What I'm more...
Big Pog? He was
what
in
I really
fourth,
want to
right?
know is if it's from him turning up late again, just to be 0-1 down and then 2-0ing. In Uko fashion, there's baller.
That's a lot. That's tough. I think we can both agree. If the two BCs teleported into the main or the natural mineral line, he could easily get like at least a couple of drones, maybe deny the Spire if he flies from one base to the other. And then you just have all that airspace on that map to just retreat to, because, the cooldown was always going to be ready before Corruptors were out, since the Spire hadn't started yet. But
I think because he had a good 8-10 Hellions on the map and he was poking. And he I don't know if he saw necessarily where the queens were, but if I see the queens there, one beautiful thing about that map, so he tried to cancel that fourth base, which was kind of part of the triangle, right? I think you can just, get to the main with the BCs. One bad thing about the queens is if they go up to the main, you can then fly out in almost any direction. You can also go, and that's one of the big things is the fact that they can move and shoot. If you're taking a direct engagement with the BCs where those queens just went ham on those BCs, just completely shut them down, didn't stop anything, didn't slow down the eco. It's very problematic, but it will be Waterfall here, second map of the series, and spawning over in the top right, showcasing some pretty decent mech play overall. It is Future.
Yeah, got to ignore the queens with those BCs, and our Zerg player in the bottom left dealt with it pretty much perfectly considering the way it went down. Our blue Zerg, she is Scarlett from Shopify Rebellion.
Oh, we do have a pull first by her. It's not like a 12 pull or anything like that. It's more like just a defensive play. So she's probably got in her head that, hey, after I just shut that down, maybe you're thinking about Proxy T-Rex and me. It is a very small map. It's a very aggressive map. Or she could be thinking, you know what? Given that it is a small map, I can start doing some of those builds where it's like I send a couple of lings out, then I go into some roach play. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful time to whip that kind of build out.
Yeah, and you're thinking about exactly that. Is you tried something that was a very technical strategy, a very pointed build that had a certain purpose that it could accomplish, and it didn't work out. Things kind of went long, wasn't able to make it happen. So you're like, okay, bring some pain early in game 2. Not quite what's going to happen. It's a reactor first to Muslim, so you could use this to just go into double Reaper or just start building Marines and build something behind it, I guess. But the SPV scout will inform him of what's happening, at least somewhat.
One thing I tend to find about this map is that it's kind of difficult to find a place for your Overlord to go. So it might be one of these builds where he just wants to get a few Marines out on the map. Because if you come scout this with the Overlord look, and then it's like, all right, where does my Overlord go? I guess it can get out of there in time. We'll see. Because I've seen a few builds where Terrans did opt for like 3 Raxes at one point in time. Cure really popularized that kind of stuff, and Future does like his timings. But yeah, so far he's seen that it is a pool first. You to get to scout, and Scarlett, she is getting ready for that kind of roach play.
Yeah, this type of build can be very, very tricky. I think that Future going straight away into the Marines, though, getting the bunker are both good choices. Ling speed starts up, though. Yeah, Scarlett cancels the Roach Horn. I think that's the right move here, because Future's setup looks like it would be pretty solid against that kind of, for the most part, like kind of like one base all in-ish thing. So go into drones, take the third base, cancel the Roach Horn. I think that's the right call.
I actually think it's a very smart decision by Scarlett. It's almost going into a blind counter build, because the reason the Roach play often works, especially on a map like this, is because your opponent's gone into Hellions. So Future didn't plan on that at all. Future looks like he's doing some sort of 2-1-1-esque build. Obviously not in the same order, but it's going to be scouted here by Scarlett. This is a really nice scout by her.
Yep, gets to come in. You get a full update. You know pretty much exactly when anything could be coming, since like, okay, factory's getting the tech lab. There's no tanks yet. Starport, you don't even see that. So just a pretty quick follow-up into the bio, as the Marines will clean that up. And as far as Future's build is concerned, I mean, 1 gas still. So there's the 3rd command center. But going into Stim without the starport having started yet, you're not going to be moving out anytime soon. Although I suppose the 3 command centers kind of says that enough on its own.
Yeah, he's going to utilize these Marines just kind of moving around the map. Sometimes you can find Overlords in funny positions, but we see that Scarlett's done a good job just keeping them all back, tucking them all back. Third CC does begin in a fairly safe location as well. Yeah, it's definitely a cute little build here by Future. We'll get Stim on the go. It is very reminiscent of a 2-on-1. And the fact that he doesn't have like a third CC at the front here, like Scarlett's information is definitely going to be stunted. But as long as Future survives, I'm looking forward to see what he does with this.
Yeah, the biggest strange thing there, I think, for Scarlett, even in just that scouting, is you don't see that command center. But if there's a factory that's done and a starport isn't being built nearby, you're like, okay, unless it's behind the mineral lines, like why would you not have a starport running this early? So the assumption of greed can also be there, depending on, I guess, maybe the matches that she's had against Future prior. She might have a read on that if they play on the ladder a decent amount. But Stim is just past halfway done. Those Marines just trying to keep the spotterlings off of those third options. Zerg players love leaving a cheeky ling on those expos, just knowing that command center's coming. And of course, as we're all very well aware, OSHA regulations state you are legally not allowed to land a command center on a single Zergling.
Apparently so. Apparently so.
Yeah, it's against the law.
I'm just looking at everything that Scarlett's done this game. So she didn't make any spores, and that's because she scouted the 2 barracks. So that's a good little skip there. She also went for 1 Evo chamber fairly early to just get the carapace upgrade. Also very good against the Marines only kind of stuff. So I do feel like Scarlett's done and reacted very well with the information she garnered with that single Overlord scout. And so far, I'm liking everything that she's done. Her drone count's healthy. Her unit count's very healthy. And look at that creep spread as well. This is what happens when you don't go Hellions. It just goes completely uncontested on the map. And it's already starting to spread over the halfway mark at 6 minutes.
Especially with how small this map is, getting across very quickly is certainly annoying. And Future's just walking across it. So Scarlett can see his army. She knows everything that's going on. And as you mentioned, that +1 Carapace is going to finish soon, but she also just has a ton of energy on a lot of queens. So they can kind of easily step forward, push this back, drop a bunch of tumors, and Future just kind of keeps taking this very direct path towards Scarlett with all the harass, all the move outs. It's just kind of in your face. So she gets time to react. And actually that scan misses the forwardmost tumor. So it's not actually really even going to slow the creep down that much. But since it is bio, I think Scarlett can also go back to what she's good at too, which is getting a lot of Lings, Banes, and kind of eating these armies and surrounding them and supporting it all with huge run-bys. Okay, into that third base. This is what we're talking about. And siege tank, not siege, no bunker. A very critical engineering bay, by the way, in this base too. So giving that up is something that you absolutely cannot afford. And Scarlett just dives in on the units coming out of the natural to try and stop this. That siege tank getting very low, picked up and saved by the medevac.
That +1 armor's really taking its toll here. Scarlett with superior upgraded Lings, and behind this she was droning up a little bit. Gets a creep spread rolling out, and these Lings, that takes a while to clean them up. And Scarlett immediately starts up her upgrades as well for tier 2.
Yeah, having +1 Carapace versus the no infantry +1, and Future's just got the single engineering bay strategy. It would have been cataclysmic if that engineering bay in the third had been picked off. You absolutely need to bring everything back to defend that. And like you said, with the 2-2 coming through, that's going to be bonus damage because Future's he's not getting infantry armor. So these Marines going to be a little bit squishy.
Yeah, just a bit of a nightmare situation for Future. Everywhere he turns, there's creep. He's up in the middle of the map.
It is October.
Certainly is. It's time to be scared. And Future feels just that against Scarlett. Scarlett's moving on to her 5th base at this moment in time. And look at her. She doesn't want to take a fight. She's having fun this game.
Yeah, going to go for a little attack. And I mean, if it's just they're kind of getting funneled into that choke by the bunker in the third base, but getting into the natural, some of the Lings getting into the main, and then intercepting the reinforcements that are trying to stop this. I mean, this is what high-level ZVT looks like. It's a lot of Ling run-bys, counterattacks, backstabs. Does the Terran want to cross the middle of the map? Okay, I'm going to make it as painful as possible for you. And this way, I mean, she doesn't really need to invest much other tech. She gets the Infestation Pit, go up to Hive, get your 3-3, maybe some Ultras to both finish bullying the bio. And if there's a ridiculous number of tanks, then you try to get something like Brood Lords. But Future is trying to make that big counter happen. Scarlett pops the bunker, looking for more SCVs, and another huge Ling run by the Queens, and a bunch more Banelings trying to block this. The Queens are actually blocking some of the pathing of those Banelings to Muslim, so making it actually quite difficult for her to stop this push. Maybe a little overzealous on the defense.
That was not a clean defense by Scarlett, and that is so many freaking Marines.
Raining blood.
2-2 is about to finish with Scarlett, but her whole army died. She's actually pulling all the drones. She's desperate.
This is the everything. Wow. I mean, those were actually some pretty sick value Banelings. She's still up on workers. Maybe, I don't know if it's time to turn the drones around yet, but the Queens, she actually turned around and killed all of this, pulling everything. That's, dude, what are we watching? What a game. That was actually pretty filthy. How often does someone pull the drones from the natural, the third, and the fourth with just their Queens against 50 Marines and like have like 6 Banelings coming home and actually survive? You know, that's a GG moment in 99% of games I've cast in my life. Scarlett is a tough Zerg player to put down, to say the least.
She absolutely is. She absolutely is. 14 Queens on the map. I mean, that is some people stop at 6, others stop at 8.
2-2. That 2-2 also just paying unbelievable dividends. Like you're trying to fight those drones. You're like, wait, I've got +1. The drones have +2 armor. Even the drones are tanky. Yeah.
Oh man,
this is tough. And I don't think the +1 armor ever started for Future. He's not thinking about that. There's no armory. He is going to win the game or lose it on this push. That's basically the vibe he's going for. And Scarlett can choose to do another backstab, or she could just try to kill this army and end it. But you know, it's I think both options are fair game. Just be careful about having to pull the drones again. You know.
What is Future planning on here?
Is this a Doom drop?
It definitely is a Doom drop. It feels like it's
a Doom
the cat's
for
out the bag, though.
Yeah. Doom for whom, to Muslim? That's the question here.
I mean, I wouldn't like to be there if I was Future, but I mean, that's a lot of Queens. I mean, the Marines are getting about the best fight they possibly can against just pure Ling over there. It's just the work count's just no bueno for Future. I mean, he's still mining a lot because of the mules and what have you, and he is building up the tank count. It's just, you see this amount of Zerg absolutely everywhere. That doesn't really make me feel super good if I'm Future. It's just, I guess he's keeping the supply very close. It's just, what's your win situation here?
Yeah. Well, the Hive is on the way. Infestors are coming out. Burrow is being researched. Scarlett may end up styling on him a little bit with some Burrowed Bane action. But I mean, just imagine if Scarlett just gets to Ultralisk with Chitinous. If she can get there, then these Marines they'll hardly tickle. They just have +1 attack and nothing else. There are some Liberators to help supplement the tanks, make sure the Banelings don't get caught behind the Queens. And it looks like Scarlett might have been ready to pull the trigger for a moment. If Future gets the target fire with the tanks onto the Banes, though, then things definitely get a little haywire.
These fights from Scarlett, they haven't been pretty, but I think she just has the numbers here. I mean, everything that she has just ran into these liberation zones, the tanks and whatnot, and she does clean it up, but yeah, it's not been pretty. And Future, that's wave 1. Now his count of tech units has definitely been absolutely slapped about here. But Scarlett, she lost a good 10, 11 Queens in that last fight.
The other part of this, too, is these Marines are all actually pretty hurt. The medevacs have been out of energy because this fight just never stops. So
too much.
Scarlett's very tanky Lings are able to hold the army in position for the Banelings to detonate. He drops below 90 supply, and there it is. GG.